The sacred chant of Jai Shri Ram, meant to invoke divine reverence, has been twisted into a weapon of hate, and the cries of helpless Christian pastors in Madhya Pradesh demand that we confront this ugly truth. The brutal assault on helpless Christian pastors under the chanting of Jai Shri Ram, a sacred invocation meant solely for divine worship, exposes the moral bankruptcy consuming our nation. How can anyone justify this savage attack on impoverished Dalit Christians in Madhya Pradesh's Burhanpur district? These destitute believers, who often struggle for a single meal, were stripped naked, paraded through village streets, and mercilessly beaten by Hindu extremist mobs shouting religious slogans.
जय जय सिया राम, जय सिया राम। ये आज चर्च के सामने धर्मांतरण करते हुए
वीडियो बंद करो,
जो कि
अब एक मर्डर होगा
चर्च के सामने।
हाँ वीडियो बंद।
गांडू मारूंगा भोसड़ी का, एक बार हो गया ना तेरे।
तेरा नाम डालूंगा बेटा इनकी। घेरा बनाओ,
गांडू गांडे
ले घेरा बना। थोड़ा पीछे
फेल हो गया।
शांत रहो।
क्या क्यों आया था? यहाँ पर बैठता था।
जोर से बोलना। और कौन है?
जोर से बोलना।
मारेगा तो पूरा मार डाल, नहीं तो मारना।
बोल बेटा, बोल। क्या करूँ तेरे साथ?
रिटर्न एक
क्या करूँ? पेंट छोटी भाई तेरी।
मारेगा तो पूरा मार डाल, नहीं तो मारेगा।
हाँ, बहुत बढ़िया।
Kilometers from Indore, where 4 members of the Indian Pentecostal Church were ambushed during their prayer meeting. This wasn't just an attack on individuals, it was an assault on the very principles of humanity and religious freedom that India claims to uphold. Eyewitness accounts and viral videos reveal the horrifying details. Approximately 150 Bajrang Dal activists armed with swords and sticks surrounded the pastor's residence where fewer than 10 believers had gathered for worship. The attackers forcibly dragged out 4 devotees, Saizing, Ganakashiram, Vilasya, and 2 others, bound their hands, stripped them, and beat them while marching them to a Hindu temple. Most shockingly, 2 police constables present at the scene did nothing to stop the violence, instead, allegedly supporting the attackers.
धर्मांतरण करने वालों की माँ 14 सालों की, धर्मांतरण करने वालों की माँ 14 सालों की। जय जय सिया राम, जय जय सिया राम। धर्मांतरण करने वालों की माँ 14 सालों की।
नाम बता तू बेट, नाम बता।
ये क्या है?
ये क्या है? बोना सिंह। पूरा नाम बोल। हाँ?
जोर से बोल।
कहाँ रहता है बेटा? हिवरा। यहाँ क्यों आया था? हाँ? मेहमान। यहाँ क्यों आया था?
आधी रात को
यहाँ क्यों आया था 10 बजे? हाँ?
बंद हो गया, वीडियो बंद हो गया।
ये कहाँ है?
दो बच्चे दोनों।
In a perverse twist of justice, the victims themselves were arrested under false conversion charges while their tormentors roam free. These images, now circulating widely, show not just physical violence, but a betrayal of trust in the institutions meant to protect all citizens, regardless of faith. This incident follows a disturbing pattern in BJP-ruled states like Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Rajasthan, where Hindu extremists routinely attack Christian worship services with impunity. The targeted pastor, Baliraj Gangaram, had previously faced death threats 4 months earlier when police ironically filed cases against him rather than his attackers. Now his entire family has fled into hiding, fearing for their lives. Meanwhile, 3 of the assaulted Christians spent 4 days in jail before the Delhi-based ADF organization secured their bail on June 28th. The fact that the victims were punished while the perpetrators walked free is a chilling indictment of the systemic failures that enable such atrocities to persist. The systemic persecution reveals several alarming realities. First, the complicity of law enforcement. Police not only permit these attacks, but often participate in fabricating cases against victims. Second, the weaponization of anti-conversion laws to justify violence against religious minorities. Third, the dangerous normalization of mob violence under religious pretexts. As videos show attackers gleefully shouting Jai Shri Ram during the assaults, we must ask, what spiritual benefit comes from beating starving Dalits? How does parading naked pastors strengthen Hinduism? These acts don't defend faith. They defile it, turning sacred slogans into tools of oppression and eroding the moral fabric of our society. When constitutionally guaranteed religious freedoms are publicly violated, when police become instruments of oppression rather than justice, every Indian's fundamental rights are endangered. The Constitution of India, under Article 25, guarantees the right to freely profess, practice, and propagate religion, yet incidents like Nepanagar show how fragile these protections are when mob rule and complicit authorities prevail. The solution lies not in retaliatory violence, but in upholding constitutional values. Hindus of conscience must condemn these atrocities. Media must report truthfully without fear. Courts must punish perpetrators regardless of political pressure. Most importantly, citizens must recognize that today's persecuted Christian could be tomorrow's lynched Muslim or arrested Dalit activist. When mob rule replaces due process, nobody's rights are secure. This isn't just a Christian issue or a Dalit issue. It's an Indian issue, one that threatens the pluralistic ethos that has defined our nation for centuries. This incident demands more than outrage. It requires systemic reform. The National Human Rights Commission must investigate all religious violence cases in Madhya Pradesh. The Supreme Court should review the misuse of anti-conversion laws. Political leaders must stop weaponizing religious sentiments for electoral gains. Ultimately, India's soul will be judged not by temple constructions, but by how we treat our most vulnerable citizens. The bloodied faces of those Dalit Christians cry out for justice. Will India listen? The answer lies in our collective will to confront these injustices and rebuild a nation where every citizen, regardless of faith or caste, can live with dignity. To deepen our understanding, let's reflect on the broader context. Madhya Pradesh has seen a surge in anti-Christian violence, with over 150 reported incidents in 2024 alone, according to human rights groups. These attacks often target marginalized communities like Dalits, who make up a significant portion of India's Christian population. The misuse of anti-conversion laws, such as the Madhya Pradesh Freedom of Religion Act, has provided a legal veneer for vigilante groups to act with impunity, often with tacit support from local authorities. This pattern isn't unique to Madhya Pradesh. Similar trends in Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan point to a systemic issue that demands national attention. The role of the police in these incidents is particularly troubling. The complicity of the two constables in Nepanagar isn't an isolated case. Reports from organizations like the United Christian Forum document numerous instances where police have either failed to intervene or actively sided with attackers. This erosion of trust in law enforcement undermines the rule of law and emboldens mobs to act without fear of consequences. Reforming police training and accountability mechanisms is critical to restoring faith in our institutions. From a societal perspective, the silence of moderate voices within the Hindu community is a missed opportunity. Hinduism, with its rich tradition of tolerance and coexistence, is being hijacked by extremists who misuse sacred chants for violence. Prominent Hindu leaders and organizations must speak out unequivocally against such acts, reaffirming the values of Dharma that emphasize compassion and justice. Their voices can bridge divides and counter the narrative that pits communities against each other. The media's role is equally crucial. While viral videos have exposed the Nepanagar incident, mainstream media often shies away from sustained coverage of religious violence, fearing political backlash. Independent journalists and citizen reporters have filled this gap, but their reach is limited. National outlets must prioritize factual reporting and investigative journalism to hold perpetrators and complicit authorities accountable. Amplifying the voices of victims like Pastor Balaraj and his congregation can humanize the issue and galvanize public support for reform. India's international reputation is also at stake. As a nation aspiring to global leadership, incidents like these draw scrutiny from human rights organizations and foreign governments. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom has flagged India for its treatment of religious minorities, and cases like Nepanagar only fuel such concerns. India must demonstrate its commitment to pluralism by addressing these violations head-on through both legal action and public discourse. Let's consider what ordinary citizens can do. Grassroots movements such as interfaith dialogues and community vigils can foster understanding and solidarity. Educating youth about constitutional rights and the dangers of communalism can prevent the next generation from falling prey to divisive ideologies. Supporting organizations like ADF, which provide legal aid to victims, can also make a tangible difference. Every small action counts in rebuilding a society where justice prevails over mob rule. As we reflect on the bloodied faces of those Dalit Christians, let's remember that their struggle is our struggle. India's strength lies in its diversity, and protecting that diversity is a shared responsibility. For now, let's stand with the vulnerable, demand justice, and work toward a nation where no one is persecuted for their faith.